Real talk.
Real talk.
Real talk.
I'm ready for a real talk.
Let's have a real talk.
Let's have a real talk.
I'm ready for a real talk.
Good afternoon and welcome to Real Talk, an insider's perspective on plastic surgery. I'm Maria Todd.
I'm Joan Jefferson, 30-year healthcare advocate in the field of plastic reconstructive and cosmetic surgery.
Now, our goal is to create public awareness and participation in the fight against breast cancer and discussion on the importance of mammograms and early detection and the role of plastic surgery in helping women focus on a healthy future. Restoration gives hope and optimism to those who choose this option, and our show will focus on current events that are taking place in our community.
So last week we told you that we were going to have a show on male plastic surgery. But something interesting happened during the week, and that is that I had lunch with an old friend that I hadn't seen in some time. And so within 2 minutes, I knew that we had to do a show to tell her story. It's so compelling. Our show today is entitled Making a Difference, Embracing Life After Breast Cancer. The chance of a woman having invasive breast cancer during her life is 1 in 8. So the messages that you will glean from today's show are so important. It's timely, it's sobering. And if you've known of anyone who has been diagnosed with breast cancer, and most of us have, this is a show that you'll want to tune into. And so while there have been major strides in the fight against cancer, we still have a long way to go. So breast cancer, we know the death rates have been going down. The chance of dying from breast cancer today is 1 in 36. And of course, we know that this is probably because of finding earlier and better treatments for cancer.
Public awareness has been heightened on a number of levels, but we still find that about 70% of women are not aware of their options for reconstruction. No longer is the diagnosis of cancer a death sentence, and right now there are more than 2.8 million breast cancer survivors just in the U.S. alone.
Our show today features a woman who is not only a survivor, she's more than that. She's a champion, and she's a strong advocate for women. And she's a woman whose heart you will hear as she discusses her very personal journey, her life before and after the diagnosis. You will hear how she turned some major stumbling blocks into stepping stones. When we return, you'll meet this incredible woman who is using her personal struggle and now her victory to help others. So stay tuned. You won't want to miss her captivating story. It will have you transfixed.
All right. And we want you to get in on the conversation as always. So I'm going to ask you to tweet us today of all days, especially tweet your support, tweet your information, tweet your stories. You can get a hold of Joan. You can tweet her at Joan_Jefferson. You can tweet me at Maria Todd. Always use the hashtag Real Talk. And of course, we have a Facebook page. It's a great time to get on there and see what's current, what's going on. And you can go to our website, as always, to get information. And it is realtalkplasticsurgery.com. When we return, you're going to meet our fascinating guest. Don't go anywhere. Traffic and weather are next. Welcome back to Real Talk, or if you're just joining us, welcome. A very special show today. I'm Maria Todd.
I'm Joan Jefferson, 30-year healthcare advocate for women in the field of plastic and reconstructive surgery. Before the break, we mentioned that we would be talking to a very incredible woman, and I am very proud to call her my friend, and a friend that I lost contact with up until just last week. And this story is very compelling for me because it's very personal to me because of my relationship with Miss Lydia Harlacher. And she is a woman, as I said earlier, she's more than a survivor. She's a wife, she's a mother, she's an entrepreneur, and she's the owner of Zaz Studios on Memorial Drive in Houston. So welcome, Lydia, to the show today. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you, Joan.
You know, we met in 2007 through a Pilates studio we were at the same time.
That's right.
And actually, your story begins way before that. But let's just talk about where you are today, because I've always known you to be a woman who's so put together. She always looks like she stepped out of Vogue. Just seems to always have confidence and happy. And that's the Lydia that I knew. And the Lydia that I met last week was a transformed Lydia. Very different.
That's right, Joan. I have been through an amazing and a very difficult journey. A journey that started, well, the toughest part of the journey started last summer. Mm-hmm. And I had, unbeknownst to most of my closest friends, I hid it very well, but I suffered from major depression for almost 30 years. And I had a nervous breakdown last summer. I had been, actually, it was a combination of things going on in my life. I had discovered a lump in my breast, but I was so fearful of it. I was just in denial and just didn't want to deal with it because I had a personal family crisis, very close and very difficult time for me. And because of the way I've dealt with my depression in the past, I didn't change things. I actually went into the deepest darkness of depression last July. And I had gotten to the point where I just didn't want to go on anymore. And one night I took a handful of antidepressants. I just wanted to fade away and not have to deal with the pain.
Now, Lydia, was that was before the diagnosis?
That was before the diagnosis.
So let's go back to the beginning so we can really understand your history. Sure. Can you tell us about, I know that you made a decision to do a breast enhancement.
Yes, that was back in 1997. I had 3 children, and I had breastfed them, and my breasts had taken a toll, and I felt inadequate. I didn't feel pretty or feminine. And so I believed that by having bigger breasts, my self-image would improve. And it did for a little while, but then I encountered a major problem with the implants. I had capsular contracture.
And we've talked about that on past shows, and that's where the scar tissue forms around the implant, builds up, and it makes the implant feel like it's hard.
It's rock hard.
It's rock hard. And I think that's about the time that we met.
Yes, it was. And I had suffered for years with this condition, but I just didn't want to deal with it, just like everything else. It scared me. I was afraid of surgery. I was afraid that they would take the implants away and I would be flat-chested again. And even though I was in pain, and it didn't look pretty. I mean, it was ugly, actually, but on the outside, it looked pretty when I was dressed. And we met, and there was something about you, Joan, that I felt confident that the advice that you gave me was worth following through with. And you told me about a friend who's a plastic surgeon of yours, and I went for a consultation, and we had the revision done, and I got new implants, and then everything was fine. And so I just went on with my life and had a pretty figure again. But then not too long after that, I found a lump in my breast. And that was one of the concerns all along about having the implants. My sister had been diagnosed with breast cancer. I was very diligent every year getting screened because of that. But I was always concerned that they couldn't really see what was going on because of the implant. And as it turned out, that's exactly what happened. The tumor was actually under the implant. And it wasn't until, luckily we caught it early, but it was still, I wish that it had been that it would have never happened, that it wouldn't have gotten as big as it did.
But you discovered that yourself.
I did.
Through massage, right?
I discovered that through self-exam, which I believe is so critical. Women should find a day, whether it's the beginning of the month, whatever day is important to you, where you will do your personal breast exam. And then, of course, the mammogram on however regular schedule you find you need. But anyway, I found the lump. I was terrified. Like I said, I was dealing with another personal problem, family problem, and it all spiraled downward for me very, very quickly. And I went from finding the lump, having this crisis, all in about a month. And that's when I found myself not willing to go anymore. I had lost hope. And that's when I took the antidepressants and was determined to just not live anymore.
But something turned that around for you.
It turned it around. All I was looking for was sleep and peace and just hiding from this problem. But I couldn't sleep. Those pills didn't make me sleep. And so I woke up. I mean, I got out of bed. I mean, I was so restless. And something guided me to my laptop, and I Googled alternative treatments to depression.
Excellent. So after the break, we're going to talk about just what that treatment was and how that helped you deal with the diagnosis that came later.
Great.
And remember, you can join our conversation. You can tweet Joan at Joan_Jefferson. You can tweet me at Maria Todd. Use the hashtag Real Talk. You can also go to our Facebook page, and we'll be right back. Traffic and weather are next. Welcome back to Real Talk, an insider's perspective on plastic surgery. Today, our guest, Lydia Harlacher, is telling her story as a breast cancer survivor.
And before the break, we were talking about where you really had found yourself at the bottom of the pit. And then you discovered a treatment.
That's right. It was popped up on the screen, and it was a therapy that is fairly new. And it's a non-invasive treatment for depression. It's called transcranial magnetic stimulation.
And what is that?
It's a treatment that uses, now this is overly simplified, okay, but it's a treatment that uses a magnet after the psychiatrist has found the exact location. This is the frontal lobe of our brain, and that's where the part that controls our mood. And she does this in a very specific way. The magnet is placed right over that part of the brain. It causes an electrical charge that stimulates the brain and basically enhances the feel-good hormones, serotonin and others, and which is what causes depression. Those transmitters, those neurotransmitters aren't working properly. And so it causes some major depression. It's a treatment that I was scheduled to go 5 days a week. I had to go Monday through Friday. It takes about 40 minutes. And during that time, the magnet is pulsing. And it's a really fast pulse. And basically, you do that every day. I got a total of 34 treatments. That's what we found was necessary for me. But what I found was that after about 5 days, 5 treatments, I could sleep again, which was the most merciful thing that could ever happen to me, because that was the thing with depression, you don't sleep. And so that was first. Then after about 10, 15 treatments, I found myself driving to Sugar Land every day, which is where I was going. And I found myself listening to music and singing along with music and kind of dancing along. And I'm thinking, something's different here. Something is working. And during those 40-minute sessions, the technician that is supervising the treatment is having a conversation with me. And I'm thinking it's just a conversation. But it basically, she's teaching me tools. She's helping me manage this disease, how to learn to not spiral downward anymore, how to help this treatment cure my depression. And so for me, I mean, that was one of the most important parts of it, even though I was tricked into it. But after I finished with those treatments, I felt like I was prepared for just about anything.
Because after that came the diagnosis. In fact, my last treatment for TMS was on September the 11th, and I already knew that I had breast cancer. And I announced it to the group at that time, and I have been able, because of that treatment, I have been able to deal with this horrible, horrible disease without falling apart and just staying positive for myself, because the alternative about self-pity, even though I did think a little bit, because, I'm normal. But it didn't take me long to decide I was going to deal with it. I was going to win. Like my 6-year-old grandson says, Mimi is winning. And I have won. I'm basically done with my treatment, my chemotherapy.
And so I am just a stronger, more positive person because of that treatment for major depression.
Yeah, because attitude is everything when
It
you're
is.
going through something like this. So you didn't go through the I know a lot of women, when they first hear the diagnosis from the doctor, you knew intuitively.
I knew it already.
Right.
I mean, I knew as soon as I felt that lump, I knew it. I just knew it given the history of my family with breast cancer. I knew that I had it. And so, but at the beginning, I was in denial. I mean, I didn't know how to deal with it. But by the time of the formal diagnosis, I was ready to deal with it and took the steps necessary to deal with it.
And you were at stage 2.
Yes.
And so then you decided, of course, to go through the treatment. When was your surgery done? Because the surgery you had,
The surgery was November 15th.
and it was a double mastectomy.
Yes. I decided, even though the cancer was only in one breast, my surgeon and I decided that given the history, the family history, that it was better to take both for my peace of mind, so that I wouldn't be worried that the cancer would spread. And so it was a very educated process for me. I looked at the numbers, the risks, and decided this was the best thing for me, is to take both breasts.
So today we celebrate another milestone because
Today, after this session, I go for my 6th and last infusion of chemotherapy.
yay.
I rang the bell today.
Yay. Absolutely.
Yes.
So when we return from the break, we'll continue with your story. There's a lot more to tell.
Traffic and weather are next. Welcome back to Real Talk, an insider's perspective on plastic surgery. We have a very special show and a very special guest today. Lydia has been sharing her story with us. And if you tuned in late, you can always go to our website, realtalkplasticsurgery.com, and go to our YouTube channel if you missed some of the show, and you can listen to it there.
So when we ended at the break, we last mentioned that today is a big celebration because it is your last day of chemotherapy.
That's
And we're really happy for that. You know, when we think about women and their breasts, we know that it symbolizes femininity, sexuality. And so when you have a double mastectomy, or even if you have whether you have a partial or complete, there's something you're dealing with body image, because everything changes. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
And so when you are thinking about a loss like that, it's not just a physical loss, it's also spiritual. I mean, it's some change takes place in you.
It definitely has. I went from, in 97, when I elected to have the augmentation because I felt inadequate with my body, so I felt like bigger breasts were going to make my self-image, much better. Going through this surgery, the cancer, and now with no breasts, yes, when I look at myself in the mirror, I am sad because I'm disfigured. But it doesn't last, because I found that I don't need to have breasts to feel good about myself. The chemo has taken my hair away, my eyebrows, most of my eyelashes, and I'm okay with that, because I know that's temporary. And I also know that having a flat chest at this point is temporary also. They're flat because I had cancer, and that cancer is now gone. And I know I have found the most incredible doctor who's going to fix my breasts for me.
So you're choosing then to have
I have chosen
reconstruction.
to have reconstruction.
That's excellent. You know what? I want to make the point here. Maria made it earlier that what is really disheartening is that 70% of women who undergo these procedures are not made aware of their options. And I know that you already knew what your options were. You just had to make the choice and then finding the doctor. So I applaud you for that, because life goes on, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So tell us more about the procedure that you're going to have.
Well, first of all, I want to share one of my takeaways from this. is that finding the right medical team is critical to total healing.
Absolutely.
And I wasn't there before. The old Lydia would have just settled, would have just taken the doctor's word for it, even if I didn't feel good about it. But because it was a doctor, I thought, well, he knows best. I found that in this case, Lydia was not going to settle. And so I interviewed several doctors. I went to a couple of different hospitals, facilities to see what kind of care I was going to get.
And you went to some of the best?
I went to one of the so-called best, and found that was not for me. There were many reasons why that wasn't the case.
And I applaud you for that.
Yes. And that is a new Lydia. A new stronger,
not intimidated.
Not intimidated by somebody wearing a white coat.
Right.
And then a very good friend recommended a general surgeon, and that general surgeon was the one who performed the mastectomy, and she recommended that I talk to Dr. Rafi Bedros. Highly, highly recommended him to do the reconstruction because she and I had already talked about my options. And yes, I was very fortunate. I had a doctor that was extremely sensitive to my needs, and she talked to me about various things that I could do. And I had already decided I was going to do the reconstruction. And so Dr. B, I met him, fell in love with him instantly. He is the most, well, first of all, I knew he was highly qualified, but it was his caring, kind, compassionate way. And the fact that he was listening, he really was listening to what I needed and what I hoped to have with the reconstruction. And
wow, that is great. Now, through all of this that you were going through, how is it that you managed to keep your studio Zaz going? That was your business.
The business, well, the business is like a sanctuary to me. It's a lifeline. Our members are the most amazing, loving people. We consider ourselves a family, and it was amazing. We have excellent staff, but because I was no longer there mostly to help work, the members themselves would pitch in, answering the phone, greeting people, basically doing demonstrations to newcomers, making them feel that they were in the right place, which actually was much better than hired staff doing it. It was more credible.
Now, I know that there was one very, very important key individual that you met during the process of this business, and we're going to introduce her. We could not have the show without her today when we come back from the break.
Welcome back to Real Talk, an insider's perspective on plastic surgery. I'm Maria Todd.
I'm Joan Jefferson. And before the break, we were talking to Lydia about her studio Zaz, and a very special connection that you made at that studio was with a woman that I don't think we can really tell the story completely without. And her name is Carol Payton Young. And Carol is a successful real estate and marketing executive, and she is the creative genius behind Rock the Ribbon, a memorial team that we'll talk a little bit about. But I know that you specifically wanted to speak to our audience about Carol.
Well, I met Carol when I was still a member at the studio, at the Zaz studio, and we made an instant connection. And I didn't know it at the time. I thought I was just going to use the machine there and feel better and then disappear. But that didn't happen. I loved it so much that my husband and I decided to buy the business for 4 short months after I discovered it. And it's the best thing that's ever happened to us, to my husband and me. We have made the most amazing friends. But the most outstanding one is my friend Carol.
So welcome to the show, Carol.
Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit about your role with Lydia and her cancer? And
Well, for months, after Lydia took over the business, I mean, she would come in and she was the most, as you said in the first segment, she was the most put together, beautiful woman that we ever saw. We always wanted to be just like Lydia, and she was so beautiful. And then she hit kind of a bad time that she also shared with you. But even then, she shared her weakness. And this studio is such an incredible place because it's a place where you can go. It's nearly like the old Cheers song, and everybody is the same. And it's a great equalizer in this busy, busy world. And we go in and we know a few things for sure, that we're all going to be loved and that it's a safe place. And Lydia created that. And so when she hit that time, it was time for, we now call it the sorority house sometimes, even though there's some men in there and they think it's kind of fun. But it was time for us to band together. And what we found in Lydia's weak time is that it made us stronger. And that her weakness and her exposing her fight to go through, the fight and the struggle that she went through made us stronger. And so we took her business as our business, and we went out and we got new members, not because we were trying to sell membership. We were just trying to share the magic that was going on in the studio. And because of that, her business has flourished. We have flourished as friends. And now we see Lydia come in, and she doesn't have any hair, and she doesn't have her breast anymore, and we still look at her and we say, she's the most beautiful woman I've ever known. And so as she reinvented herself, I feel like at my age, we've reinvented ourselves. And some of us who are getting older, we've kind of returned to an age of innocence. And it's back to being in high school, and it's discovering and being curious in the world. So she's taken us by the hand and led us through that journey. And it's pretty amazing because I'm with people, we're in the West Corridor, and we deal with a very global audience, but nobody has impacted our lives, our mind, as much as Lydia has.
that is so nice. And I know that's the truth. So now you came up with something that was quite creative to help in this fight against breast cancer.
Well, real estate, like many in industries, is going very, what is your digital experience? What are people experiencing when they see you? So we have our own media production department where we video houses and lifestyles and all kinds of things. And I thought, what if we would create a video for the Making Strides? And so we named our team Memorial Rocks the Ribbon. So we used this song, which the artist has given the American Cancer Society permission to use, Brave. And so I got this idea after we did everything. What if we went to the studio and Lydia would come down out in the middle of all of her sisters, and what if she would take her wig and she would throw it and she would show the courage? And she did, and it was just amazing. In the video Memorial Rocks the Ribbon, it was just grown men have cried. And so she helped us bring an awareness. That's exactly, we wanted to raise money, but it's the awareness that we are also targeting.
So that video really does raise awareness, and you can find it on YouTube. So tell us more about Memorial Rocks the Ribbon.
Well, even though Making Strides against breast cancer, the walk is on May 10th. What we decided to do is every year we participate in the National Lemonade Day, teaching all of the neighborhood kids entrepreneurship. So we thought, what if we combine the two? Entrepreneurship and giving back. What better two things can we combine for our neighborhood and for our children. So we are having Pink Lemonade Day, which it's Memorial Rocks the Ribbon, and it's really a Memorial Rocks the Ribbon festival. And we're having all kinds of face painters and fire trucks and all kinds of things that we will be raising money and awareness. And Lydia has been a tremendous leader in what's going to happen there.
And everybody should go out for that event tomorrow. That's Sunday, May 4th.
And of course, we'll have all this information on our website. So if you missed something, definitely just go to the website. You'll be able to get the information about Memorial Rocks the Ribbon. You can also hear information about Lydia's story, and you can do all that at realtalkplasticsurgery.com. Traffic and weather are next. Welcome back to Real Talk, an insider's perspective on plastic surgery. I'm Maria Todd.
I'm Joan Jefferson.
And we've been talking about the Making Strides campaign. We've been talking to Lydia about her story. We just met Carol in the last segment. And if you missed all that stuff, then you're just going to have to go to our YouTube channel because there's too much has gone on for you to catch up now. But I want to ask, as part of the Making Strides campaign, the Memorial team has kissing balls. What are those?
Well, you know, our group was so special at Zaz. They were thinking, how can we help raise money? What can we do? And they threw around T-shirts and all. And I said, you know what? Our group is so special and unique. What could we do that could be special and unique? And I had a wedding about 6 months ago. So I had kind of the kissing balls on my mind. And so I researched it, and nobody had ever really done the kissing balls. So this amazing group of women, we designed these beautiful silk rose kissing balls. One is 7 inches, one is 4 inches. And they are beautifully crafted with the most beautiful ribbon that says "Kiss Goodbye to Breast Cancer." And they're tied with or they're sewn with a single pearl. And we have had work nights for the last 4 or 5 nights at the studio. And these women are into mastery on making these kissing balls. I mean, it is strategies that any real estate agent, if they used it, would be at the top of their game. And they are amazing. And so we have made these kissing balls along with our story, and they're beautifully packaged. And so this group of loving people can stand for something that is loving, which is a kissing ball, and to say goodbye to cancer. And they use the pink pearl, and pearls, which symbolize the elegance of life, and the pink pearl symbolizes health. And so it's just amazing what these gals have done, and 100% of it, all proceeds go to our goal. We have had every kissing ball, every piece of ribbon, everything has been donated. Most of all by our husbands, but that's okay. It's been donated, and it's been a very exciting project, and it's brought us even closer together.
Now, if you at home want your own kissing ball, and you can go to our website and take a look at what they look like, but you can call 713-482-2033. That's 713-482-2033, and that phone number will also be on the website as well.
And we'll have a link too. And if Lydia allows us, we would love to. It's a beautiful picture of Lydia with these kissing balls.
The place is just amazing.
I mean, it is absolutely beautiful. You have to see that. So I want to get back to you, Lydia. I know we're about to wrap the show up. And since I've known you for about 7 years, I said earlier, I've seen such a beautiful transformation. It reminds me of the butterfly that, emerges. You have become someone so beautifully different. Not that you were not beautiful before, but your light is just so bright. How has this journey changed you?
Well, I've said before, it's made me so much stronger, wiser, particularly with respect to self-image, and especially right now, no breasts, no hair, all of the above. And it doesn't matter what's come through because of that is, I think, the essence of who I am. And I think that's by far the most beautiful part of me. What has also surfaced is this passion to help others. Mm-hmm. To be here today, I told you when we had lunch, I've always been kind of a behind the scenes kind of girl. I work hard, but I don't like to be upfront necessarily. It scares me. But something's happened to me, and I've decided that I'm going to beat that fear and be up front and center to help other women, particularly other women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. If I can make their journey a little easier, a little less frightening, it'll be the most rewarding thing I could ever do. And that's where I am. I'm at peace. I'm happy. I'm not afraid anymore. I have an amazing family, friends who have surrounded me with their love and support. I'm just ready to deal with life in a very, very positive way.